Before the truth comes the betrayal. Before betrayal. Stories you will never forget.
The sound of the punch was louder than I expected. A single sharp crack that seemed to echo through the house, bouncing off the framed wedding photos and the silent walls. My brother Daniel's knuckles met Ethan's jaw with a force that sent him staggering backward into the coffee table, scattering the remnants of our life together. An overturned mug, a photo frame, a letter I had found only hours earlier. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. Ethan touched his jaw, his eyes wide, not in pain but disbelief. "You actually think I'd do that, Mia?" His voice trembled, not from guilt, but from something worse. The ache of betrayal reflected back at me, as if I had wronged him instead. "Don't," I whispered. "Don't you dare twist this on me." The letter lay between us like a wound. A woman's handwriting. Confession of love. It wasn't signed, but I knew. I knew her looping L, her perfume lingering faintly in the paper. Lavender and citrus, the same scent that clung to Ethan's shirts lately. "Lydia. My coworker. My friend." Daniel stepped forward, still shaking with fury. "You're lucky I stopped at one." Ethan didn't reply. He picked up his keys, his face hardening into something unrecognizable. "I'm done begging for a trust you never gave me," he said, his voice low. Then he left. The door slammed. The silence afterward was unbearable. I thought I'd feel relief, vindication. But instead there was only nausea, thick, suffocating, rising up my throat until I thought I'd choke on it. I pressed my hand to my stomach, trying to steady the tremor that ran through me. Daniel's hand found my shoulder. "You did the right thing, sis. He doesn't deserve you." I wanted to believe that. But when I closed my eyes, I saw Ethan's face. Not angry, not defensive, just hurt. The kind of hurt that made me wonder if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. In the weeks that followed, Ethan moved out. He took only what was his and nothing more. His clothes, his books, the guitar I once begged him to play at our wedding. No angry messages. No attempts at reconciliation. Just silence, vast and unyielding. Everyone told me to move on. My mother said I was strong. My co-workers whispered pity when they thought I couldn't hear. Lydia quit 2 days after everything blew up, sending a single text that said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen this way." That message should have been proof. But something in it, it didn't sound like an admission. Sounded like grief. I deleted it, told myself it didn't matter. But at night when I couldn't sleep, I kept hearing Ethan's voice saying, "You never trusted me." 4 months later, Ethan moved overseas. New job, new country, a clean break. Mutual friends told me he was doing well. He'd stopped using social media. It was as if he'd erased the version of himself that had ever loved me. And yet, every time my phone buzzed, my heart still clenched, expecting his name. Sometimes, when I walked home from work, I'd pass by the small Italian cafe where we had our first date. I'd sit outside, pretending I just wanted coffee, but really I was waiting for a ghost. I missed him. Not the man who might have cheated, but the man who knew my favorite songs, who kissed my forehead when I cried, who built a bookshelf from scratch because I'd always wanted one. But betrayal doesn't allow nostalgia. It eats it. Then, 14 months later, I got an email. The subject line was blank. The sender's name was Ethan Collins. My heart froze as I opened it. "Mia, if you're reading this, it means I finally found the courage to write. I didn't expect you to believe me before, but maybe time has softened the anger enough for you to listen. I didn't cheat. Not with Lydia, not with anyone. But I understand why you thought I did. There are things I never told you, things I should have. I'm coming back next week. I'd like to explain if you'll let me." My hands trembled so badly I nearly dropped my phone. 14 months of silence. 14 months of telling myself he was the villain. I reread the message, searching for lies, for guilt, for manipulation. But there was none. Just quiet sincerity, like the man I had fallen in love with. I didn't respond right away. I sat there in my apartment, staring at the screen, the memory of his voice playing in my mind. Then I realized. My heart was racing not with anger, but with something dangerously close to hope. The day he arrived back in town, the sky was gray, heavy with unshed rain. I waited outside the cafe. My palms were slick with sweat, my chest tight with an ache I couldn't name. When he finally appeared, walking toward me through the drizzle, I almost didn't recognize him. He looked older, thinner, his eyes dimmed but softer somehow. "Mia," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But all I could do was stand there, staring at the man who once felt like home. We sat opposite each other inside the cafe, steam rising from untouched cups. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally he said, "I heard about Daniel. How's he doing?" "Still angry," I said quietly. "Mostly at himself, I think." He nodded. "He should be. But I don't blame him. I would have done the same if I were him." His calm acceptance disarmed me. "Then tell me," I said, my voice unsteady. "Tell me what really happened. Because I need to know whether I destroyed us for nothing." He exhaled slowly. "You remember when Lydia and I were working on that charity project together?" I nodded, every nerve in my body on edge. "She found out she had breast cancer. Stage 2. She begged me not to tell anyone, not even you. She said she couldn't handle pity from work or you knowing when she hadn't decided what to do yet." My mouth went dry. "She wrote that letter, Mia. It wasn't a love letter. It was a goodbye." His eyes were glassy, his voice breaking. "She was leaving for treatment overseas and didn't want to tell anyone. She left it in my bag by accident after meeting. I didn't realize it until you found it." I stared at him, the words twisting in my chest like a knife. "You helped her hide it." "I did. 'Cause she asked me to. And because I thought I could protect you both. I was wrong." My breath caught. "You lied to me." "Yes." He looked me straight in the eyes. "But not about her. I lied when I said nothing was wrong, when I saw how much it was breaking you to think something was happening and I couldn't explain. I thought I could fix it quietly. I thought love meant shielding you from pain. But I was just a coward." My hands shook as I pressed them to my lips. "Lydia, did she?" "She survived," he said softly. "She's in remission now. She wanted to tell you herself, but she said she couldn't face you after everything." The cafe seemed to blur around me. My throat burned, tears stinging my eyes. All those nights I'd cursed him, all the bitterness I'd carried. Suddenly it felt small, hollow, cruel. But beneath the shock and guilt, something darker stirred, doubt. If what he said was true, then I had condemned him for trying to protect someone else. But if it wasn't? If this was just another story? Why now? I asked, my voice trembling. Why come back after all this time? He hesitated, then reached into his coat pocket and slid a small photograph across the table. It was of a baby. A little girl with dark curls and gray-blue eyes. "I didn't come back to win you back," he said quietly. "I came to tell you that she's mine." I felt the world tilt beneath me. My pulse roared in my ears. He swallowed hard, his gaze steady. "And I think you deserve to know who her mother is." The photograph trembled between us. My mind raced, connecting fragments I didn't want to believe. I whispered, barely audible, "Please don't say it's Lydia." He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Outside, the rain began to fall. And I realized I had never truly known the man I once called my husband. I couldn't move. The air around me thickened until every breath hurt. My mind replayed his words again and again, each syllable sharper than glass. "It is mine." The baby's photograph lay between us, face down now, as if even the tiny child couldn't bear to watch what came next. "You're lying," I whispered, but it came out weak, the kind of denial that trembles under its own weight. "You're just angry or trying to hurt me or—" "Mia," Ethan said quietly, "why would I lie about something like this?" I stared at him, desperate for an answer that made sense. His expression wasn't smug or cold. It was broken. His eyes glistened the way they used to when he couldn't hide the truth, back when he still tried to protect me from it. I pressed my hands to my temples, willing the world to steady. You said Lydia was sick, that she was in treatment overseas. She was, he replied softly. And during that time we got close. I didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't even know what it was at first. I was angry, heartbroken, confused. You wouldn't answer my calls. I told myself I was just helping her through her recovery, but it turned into something else. Something inside me cracked. I felt it, like the sound of a rope snapping under too much strain. So you did cheat, I said numbly. Just later. Ethan's jaw tightened, his voice almost pleading. It wasn't about replacing you. I didn't go looking for it. Lydia was lost, and I was too. We didn't plan any of this. I laughed, a short, sharp sound that startled even me. You didn't plan it. You fell into it. My voice rose. You expect me to believe that the man I once trusted with everything somehow fell into fatherhood with the woman who destroyed my marriage? A few heads turned from nearby tables. I didn't care. Ethan leaned forward, his tone low. You think I don't hate myself for it? I wake up every night wishing I'd handled that letter differently, that I'd fought harder to explain. But I can't change what happened. My chest heaved. You let me think you were innocent. You came here, told me she was dying, made me pity you. And now you say you have a child together? What do you want from me, Ethan? Forgiveness? Sympathy? He hesitated. Then, barely above a whisper, he said, No. I want you to meet her. Froze. What? He reached into his coat again, pulling out a folded piece of paper. A photograph slipped out, a candid one this time. Lydia stood in a park, laughing, her dark hair tied back. The baby sat in a stroller, clutching a stuffed bear. She doesn't know you, he said. But I couldn't come back without seeing you first. Because she'll ask someday, and I won't lie to her the way I lied to you. Tears blurred my vision. The faces in the cafe faded into a haze of color and sound. All I could hear was my heartbeat, wild and uneven, like something trying to claw its way out of me. I can't do this, I whispered. I stood so fast that my chair scraped against the floor. I can't sit here and listen to you justify this. He stood too, reaching out, but I stepped back. The space between us felt like a canyon that neither of us could ever cross again. Mia, please, he said, his voice shaking. You have every right to hate me. But before you walk out of my life again, I need you to understand something. When Lydia found out she was pregnant, she didn't tell me for months. She didn't want to ruin whatever peace you might have found. I only found out after the baby was born. I stared at him, my tears falling freely now. And you stayed with her? Yes, he said softly. Because she needed me. Because I couldn't abandon another person I'd already failed. His words felt like ashes in my mouth. Do you love her? Yes. He didn't answer right away. His silence was louder than anything he could have said. I turned away before he could see me break completely. Then go. Love her. Be a good father. But don't ever come back here thinking I'll be waiting. As I walked out into the rain, I didn't bother opening my umbrella. The cold soaked through my coat, down my skin, until I couldn't tell if I was shivering from the weather or from the wreckage inside me. The next few days blurred into each other. Work, silence, sleepless nights. I deleted his email but couldn't bring myself to throw away the photo of the baby. I hid it in the drawer beside my bed, where secrets go to rot. Daniel came by one evening, bringing takeout and the same protective fury he always carried. He came back, he asked, his jaw tight. He nodded. And it's worse than we thought, I said flatly. He and Lydia have a baby. The container in his hands crumpled. I'll kill him. No, I said quietly. Don't. It doesn't matter anymore. Daniel stared at me for a long time. You still love him, don't you? My throat closed. I wanted to deny it, to laugh it off, but I couldn't. I don't know what I feel anymore. Love, hate, regret, they all sound the same now. He exhaled, shaking his head. You don't owe him forgiveness. I know. But that night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I thought about the baby's gray-blue eyes, Ethan's eyes. And I hated myself for the small, traitorous warmth that spread through me when I imagined her laughing. Months passed. The world moved on. Forced myself to. Then one morning I received a call. Mia. The voice was faint, fragile. Took me a moment to recognize it. Lydia. My pulse spiked. Why are you calling me? I didn't plan to, she said quickly. But I couldn't let him carry all the blame. You deserve the truth. My stomach twisted. He told me everything. No, she whispered. Not everything. There was a long pause before she continued. The baby, her name's Emma, she isn't Ethan's. My breath caught. What? He thinks she is, Lydia said, her voice breaking. I let him believe it. When I found out I was pregnant, I didn't know who the father was. It could have been him, but it could have been someone else from before. I was terrified and alone, and when he promised to stay, I couldn't bear to tell him the truth. I clutched the phone, my heartbeat echoing in my ears. Why are you telling me this now? Because I saw what it's doing to him, she said softly. He's a good man who made a terrible mistake, but he doesn't deserve to drown in a lie. I thought you should know. I closed my eyes, my mind reeling. All the hatred, all the grief I'd clung to. It felt suddenly directionless, like smoke after a fire's gone out. When I finally spoke, my voice trembled. Does he know? Not yet, she whispered. I can't face him. But I will. I promise. And then she hung up. I sat there for a long time, staring at the silent phone. The truth should have set me free. Instead, it left me hollow. Ethan hadn't cheated when I thought he had. But he had later, and even then, he had been living inside another lie. We had both been puppets of secrets, guilt, and love that refused to die quietly. Later that night I wrote him an email. Ethan, I know the truth. Not all of it is your fault, and not all of it is mine. But we both built our lives on silence, and silence is what destroyed us. I hope you find peace, whether that's with Lydia, with Emma, or on your own. I'm learning to forgive us both, but from a distance. Mia. I didn't expect a reply, and none came. A year later, I was walking through the park when I saw them. Lydia sitting on a bench, her hair shorter now, and beside her, the little girl toddling on unsteady legs. Ethan stood behind them, smiling softly, a man changed by too much pain and too much love. He saw me. Our eyes met across the distance. No anger, no longing. Just quiet understanding. I smiled faintly, a gesture of truce, and turned away. As I walked home, the wind carried the sound of a child's laughter. For the first time in years, it didn't hurt. Because sometimes betrayal isn't the end of love. It's the end of the illusion that love alone can save us. And in the quiet that follows, you learn how to start over. Alone but whole.